And welcome back to the Rugby Connection podcast, where we're doing something different this weekend. We are just diving straight into the finals. We've got the Prem final and the URC final on Saturday. We're going to talk about who we've got winning, just a big dive into it, and a little bit about Lions news and potentially massive transfer news as well. Joining me as always is Harry. How you getting on, bud?
Yeah, going well, mate. Just excited for these finals now, and excited for next week where I will be in Dublin. And yeah, it's looking to be a very interesting weekend of rugby with potentially two teams getting the duck off their back and winning a trophy after the longest time. Potentially a big send off farewell for quite a lot of English players in the Prem. And then, yeah, big injury news in the Lions. There's loads of potential jeopardy there for what might happen, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting 2 weeks in rugby.
It is, it is. Well, we're going to do it just in order because it makes the most sense. Premiership final, 3 p.m., Twickenham, Bath versus Tigers, first versus second. Yeah, so
Yeah.
much. I didn't realise this until I properly got into it. So they are the biggest clubs in England,
Oh, by far.
historically. And if you don't know, Bath were the big dogs. They were the big fish. Tigers did get the first title, but Bath went on this monumental tear in the late 80s, mid 90s. Five titles on the bounce. Leicester Tigers won it back, and then Bath got it. Nothing since. 28 years, Bath have went out without a
Yeah.
Premiership title.
Yeah, it's Bath Leicester was always the big historical sort of rivalry in England. I mean, it was very much. I mean, there were a lot of the posh boys down in Bath. I mean, put it this way, I think they're 10, 12, 13 at one point for Bath was Stuart Barnes, who many believed was underutilized by England, but that's just because they went with Rob Andrew, lovely try scoring fly half. And then it was Phil de Glanville and Jerry Guscott. So straight
Yeah.
away, some of the names that you rattle off the Bath from the 90s, just in the 10, 12, and 13 positions, you just think, bloody hell, there's some talent there. And that Bath team that they had were imperious. Like Bath were the big dogs of rugby. And I mean, I know that Wasps had their like surge in the 2000s, then Saris had their surge in the 2010s, and they are on like similar trophy paths. I think they all have six titles in total. Maybe it's slightly less. Saris certainly have the edge on European Cups, but realistically, Bath and Leicester are just it's like you said, they are just the two biggest clubs in England just since the format of the league. Yeah, they
I mean, just for context, because you did mention Phil de Glanville. The last time Bath won the Premiership, Phil de Glanville and Steve Ajomo were playing. Their sons are now going to be playing.
Yeah, it's mental that there's this old generation of England players from all like the 80s and the 90s, and then now that all of their kids are playing. Like, even if you think like Cam Redpath, Ollie Slightholme at Saints, his dad was John Slightholme, who played for England a couple of times. You've got Ruben Logan, who again is coming through at Saints and is moving to Sale and probably eventually Scotland if they play the cards right. There's this generation of players that their fathers all played about 30 years ago, and now it's their turn to have a go as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Obviously, it's been a couple of years for the Tigers. Last time they were in the final, they did win it because of that Freddie Burns
Oof.
drop goal, who has been on a weird tear. I forgot to say this last week. Did you see what he did in Japan this season?
MVP, try scorer, top point scorer, player of the season, player of the season. Basically, I think it is the Japanese second division, but mate, at
Yeah,
35, 36, to be able to completely rip it up and still get all of those accolades, like from fly half as well. Like, so it looks like
yeah,
the two best tens in New Zealand are no, the two best tens in Japan are Richie Mo'unga and Freddie Burns.
Did you let that sink in? Freddie Burns, top try scorer.
Yeah, he didn't even score that many tries when he was in England.
Something about Japan just sets them off. But yeah, I just had to mention that because it really threw me off when I read about it. So yeah, but
Well, a man who did play for both clubs.
yeah, he spoke about it. He wants he wants the Bath boys to do well, but because he lifted it with Leicester, he's got Tigers winning it. Fair.
Yeah, which is fair enough. I mean, two of the best games that Freddie Burns has probably ever been a part of in his life is that final in the 2012 England All Blacks game where he came off the pitch. I think he made his debut for Owen Farrell, kicked a
Mhm.
few goals, and yeah, I mean, if it was me, they'd probably be my two favorite games ever.
That's fair. I mean, we have had Bath Leicester just a couple of weeks ago, and Bath ran riot.
They did, they did. The one thing I've really noticed with Bath this season is you almost don't want to be ahead of them at half time unless you have got a significant lead. Because even when I think Quinn's played them this year, and we absolutely wrecked them in the first sort of like 50 minutes. Like we absolutely tore them asunder. We were winning, and I thought that we would win the game. Like it looked fairly comfortable, despite the fact that Guy Pepper, who is unbelievable, lives right on the edge of the like he gets penalized a lot, but then he also gets a lot of stuff as well. He's just a very good, and I say this in the best possible way, he's a very good cheat. He's a very good at like going on the line of what it is that you can do, and he'll
Yeah,
either just be there or just be there. He's not such a cheat that you're like, oh, you're horrible, but he's so gnarly and he's so like plays to the line that he's just a good cheat because he never goes that far that it's like, okay, that is disgusting behavior. He's just living on the line. But I mentioned Guy Pepper because that's what he did to Quinns. He lived on the line and he got some keys stealings, and then Bath managed to get back in the game and just scored and scored and scored. And they are so dangerous when you go from about minute 40 to minute 60. When that 20 minutes, when they come in from the changing room, they are absolute demons, and they will just put you to the sword in those 20 minutes and then just control you for the last 20. So even if they're not great for the opening half, if Leicester get the edge on them, I would be worried because they just have the capability to come back into games, and they have done it so often. They did it against Bristol last week. They did it against Quinns this season. They've done it against Leicester this season. They've done it continuously where it'll be they did it in the Challenge Cup final. It was fairly even. They weren't really that far ahead, and then all of a sudden they got far ahead. They are excellent at putting themselves in a position to have everything set up for them, even if they're behind. They then that 40 to 60 minutes in the second half, that third quarter, that is theirs. They
yeah.
control it. And if you have any hope whatsoever, and I think Michael Checker will say this, Leicester have either got to not be that far ahead of Bath that it gives them that motivation to chase, or they have to control that third quarter because that's where the game, I think, could be won or lost.
I mean, yeah. No, I agree. I know the squads haven't been officially announced yet, but we've got a rough idea. The head-to-heads are going to be unreal. You've got Ben Obano against Nicky Smith in the loose head. You've got Tom Dunn versus Julian Montoya. You've got Will Stewart versus Joe Hayes.
Yeah,
Quinn Rue versus Cameron Henderson. Charlie Ewels versus Ollie Chesham. Ted
Hanro
Hill
Hanro
versus Manuel
Liebenberg.
Liebenberg.
Yeah,
Guy Pepper versus Tommy Raphael.
honestly, I mean Barbary and Cracknell.
Yeah,
It's just, and then Spencer
Spencer
Van
versus Russell.
Portfleet, Russell
Ben
Pollard.
Russell, Ben Russell versus Andre Pollard.
Oh God, it's just. I mean, Ajomo and Kata, Woodward and Redpath, and then the wingers, Muir and Radwan. Hassel Collins and Cockner Singer, the Glanville and Stewart. It is just, and that's not even counting the bench. Like you've
No.
got Dan Cole and Ben Youngs, who are probably going to come off the bench to see out the game. Like I don't imagine they'll start, but in their potentially last ever game of rugby in the final, you have got the two most capped men's players of all time. Just, oh yeah, we'll roll on. Like, yeah, we've got
Yeah.
you, and it's just. I'm not going to say I'm more excited for this final than last year's final because I was Saints and Bath were just both exceptional last year.
Yeah, that's true.
But I do think that yes, Leicester have had a couple of thumpings, like especially by Toulouse, but they've they've rode the storm of right, we're not performing well here. They they've mid-season signed an absolutely electric winger who has shown his potential to be a fantastic try scorer. You just have to give him the ball and facilitate him correctly. They sacked their defense coach mid-season and brought in someone else who has just changed what they're about, and they just conceded far less. And you just look at it and think, this is just, again, I'm not saying that I'm more excited compared to last year, but these two teams have probably, that for the whole year, they have probably been the best two. Like from that first game at Sandy Park, where went down to Sandy Park with Tigers and won. That never happens because Sandy Park is a horrible place to go to, even when Chiefs aren't at their best, which Sale found out a few weeks ago. But from that game, Checker has had this point of, nah, I want to win it. I'm only here for a year. I want to win it. And he's had
Yeah.
that mentality, and all he wants is to win it. And you just think that if there's ever going to be a team to do it against Bath, the historic rivalry, the two biggest clubs in England, they are like in terms of history and power and stadiums, probably two of the most iconic as well. I'm running out of superlatives. It's going to be incredible, and I'm so excited as a neutral to watch this game because to go into prediction slightly, I do still have Bath winning because I think that their bench is better, and as I said, I think they'll control that 40 to 60 third quarter, and they will be so threatening and so dangerous, and will just be an absolute nightmare. And I think Leicester will be there or thereabouts, but I ultimately think that Bath have it. I really think that they will do it.
Yeah, no, I agree as well. I think the way they've gone about their business this year and like they're winning trophies, they're flying high at the top of the table. They have world class superstars. They have a massive heavy pack. They've got the flair in the backs, and you've got a very calm coach as well. Johan van Grant does
Yeah.
not really show his emotion until that final whistle. So, which is like a deadly instinct as well, I think.
Mm,
So,
definitely.
so I am agreeing with you on that, Harry. I have got Bath winning it by how much? I don't know because it could either be like Bath by 6 or Bath by 25. That's
Oh,
if Tigers could ride the storm, I can still see Bath winning it, but it'll be tight. If they fall to pieces like they did a few weeks ago, Bath will just be like, "Yep, cool. Let's wrap this up. This is ours."
yeah.
So,
Here's my question on talking about Bath.
mm,
Obviously, it's going to be very difficult for them to hold on to every single one of those players that they've brought in. But I think a lot of the English boys will stay. Potentially, I think some of the international boys will disappear off. They have also got that amazing academy as well, like guys like Kepi Tuipulotu and Billy Seller coming through. So even if like a Tom Dunn and a Thomas DeToy like retire or leave, you've got those kids coming up. Is this potentially the start of a new Bath dynasty? Could we see that this team go on to be dominant win the European Cup next year, or potentially go really far in the competition, or even win a back-to-back title. Is this because you think about some of the additions that they have got coming in?
Yeah,
Santi
true.
Carreras, Henry Arundel, Dan Frost. Like they've got so much quality coming in with existing academy quality or players who have been there for a long time with a couple of superstars added in. And to wrap up my slightly too long point, is there a scenario where this Bath team goes on to have an era of dominance similar to Saracens a couple of years ago?
Yeah, there is. There absolutely is. I mean, this will be. This is kind of what I love about the Prem as well. Regardless of who wins, it's a new champion again.
For about the
We've not seen back to back.
fifth year in a
Yeah,
row from Chiefs title in 2020, and then Quins,
yeah,
Leicester, Saracens, Northampton, but sick new champion.
yeah.
Pretty much
On the
every
book.
every team in the league that has won the Prem
There's never,
potentially
there's never went
will
back to
have
back.
won it again in the next 6 years.
So Chiefs time's coming. That's what I heard.
Yeah, it'll be Newcastle next year then.
If they get that
Hey,
Red
Red
Bull
Bull,
money,
hey, Red Bull money with all the Red Bull athletes coming over. Yeah,
why not? Why not?
don't have to pay them with the salary cap. They'll pay them out of their Red Bull sponsorship money, so they can offer them the
There you
deals
go.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, have I just thought of the loophole for Red Bull to play within the salary cap and the marquee player with all the homegrown credits? But it's like, oh yeah, we also sponsor the player, so the money that money's legit. We sponsor him. You've given him an extra 500 grand, yeah, but we sponsor him. It's not in the. Oh, I think I might have just come. Oh, the Premiership will have to be careful of that if they can do that, because I bet Jack Noel was making a bit of extra money being a Red Bull athlete. Probably still is.
So secretly seek probably. Yeah.
Damien Willems so as well.
There you go.
And there's another one. I can't remember who the other one is,
I
but
th I think this will be the biggest test for Bath because, like we've said, it has been 28 years. Like Bath have never won a Premiership title in my lifetime. I know people think I'm old. I'm not that old.
well, I don't know if Bath have won it. No, they have won a title in the professional era because the last one was '96, wasn't it?
Yeah, but
So they've only
that's just in the
yeah.
professional era.
So they've only won one title in the one Premiership title. Sorry, they've won a couple of other cups.
Yeah, Tigers have won 9 in the professional era.
Which is mental considering a lot of the boys that I think they had win came from that sort of amateur era. But I mean, you
Yeah,
think of the legends of both of those teams. It's staggering. It's absolutely staggering.
that is. But we both have Bath, and we're going to move on to Croke Park. 5 o'clock kickoff. URC final. The first URC final held in the Northern Hemisphere under the URC banner. I'm not counting Pro 14 or Pro 12 or anything like that. The
Yeah,
first final in the Northern Hemisphere under the URC banner. Leinster versus Bulls, and again, first versus second. Both teams are dying to win a title.
I mean, Bulls have basically been there or thereabouts every single year for like the whole tenure of the URC. And let's not forget, the Bulls are one of the most successful. I think they are the most successful South African franchises. Like you think about some of the players that played for the Bulls, Matfield, Habana.
Yep,
Who
yep.
else are some of the big
Both
ones?
are.
Loads. I
Both are.
can't think. Huh?
Morningstain, Florey
Oh,
Dupree, Morningstain. Yeah, yeah,
literally like that. That Bulls as an institute of South African rugby, yes, with the altitude, which I think people get a bit frustrated about. I know that I would. You look at how like they are that South African team. So they are arguably the biggest South African team. Sorry, Sharks. And they are desperate for this title because did they lose to Stormers in the first URC final? And then They unfortunately lost to Glasgow last year, and then on the run into two other finals, they just got beat, or they've basically been there or thereabouts every single year since the
It is their
creation
third.
of.
It is their third URC final in 4 years.
So yeah, so they played the Stormers and lost to them, and then they played Glasgow, and now they're playing Leinster.
No, that's year.
I mean, for a team that is desperate to win that trophy, and then on the flip side, Leinster, who are desperate to win a trophy, this is just like the superstar, the names that we have got in again. Like you think, and I'm going to talk him up because he's a former Harlequin and a fantastic Vilko Low against Andrew Porter. Vilko Low, who is arguably South African Player of the Year because of how well he has played this year as a tight. I mean, in a country that is absolutely stacked with tight heads, like you think Vincent Koch or Trevor Nyakane or Franz Malherbe, who's been the best out of them all? Oh, just 145 kilo Vilko Low.
Mm.
Phenomenal. He has been. I mean, if you could get nominated for like World Player of the Year just from the club game, not from the international, if there was ever a tight head prop who deserved it for the year that he's had, Vilko Low, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, dismantled one of the premier looseheads in the world in Oxenche, who essentially won a World Cup semi-final for them against England. And what did Lowe do? Monstered him. Just the guy who said salads don't win scrums. Well, Ox, they really don't win scrums when you're against Mr. Vilko Lowe and those legs of his. But
I mean,
anyway, going into some of the other matchups, Sheehan, Aka van der Merwe, Jan Hendricks Vessels, and I believe it's Clarkson, Arche
so
Snyman, who's obviously a former Bull, against some of these
are you
guys.
ready for it? Are you ready for it? So the
Oh,
squads are out. You've got for Loosehead, you have Andrew Porter of Leinster, Jan Hendrik Vessels of Bulls, Dan Sheehan at hooker for Leinster, Johan Groblar
oh,
of Bulls. You've got Thomas Clarkson. What a test this is going to be for that young lad at Leinster
huge.
against Velko Lowe, who you've already massively praised. You've got Cobus Visa and JF Van Herden in the second row, taking on James Ryan and Joe McCarthy. Then you've got the back row battle of Marco van Staden, Captain Rohan Norkia, Marcel Coetzee against Ryan Baird, Josh van der Fleer, and Jack Conan.
Oh,
And
this
then,
is
if that wasn't enough, you've then got the battle of the backline where you've got Ambrosi Papier against Jamison Gibson Park. You've got Johan Husson taking on Sam Prendergast, Sebastian de Klerk against James Lowe. You've got Harold Vorster versus Georgie Barrett, David Creel against Gary Ringrose, Kanan Moody against Tommy O'Brien, and Billy LaRue versus Jimmy O'Brien.
it's just like I mean, I
Uh,
know we all get our backs up about Leinster, but like, and I know that is just a phenomenal team, and we've not even mentioned the bench. That it's just a brilliant team,
it's nuts. It's insane.
and it is just a team that has been unfortunate that it like especially in the Champions Cup. If we go back, like that La Rochelle team that they fell short to were brilliant, and that Toulouse team again that they fell short to were brilliant. And yes, they've lost quite a few finals on the spin, and it's not great. It's a massive it's a massive like thing on their back, and they need to get it off. But what a place to prove it as well. Croke Park. Like, go back to Croke Park, which you have been to a few times now, but go back to Croke Park and play the Bulls who've got the drop on you a couple of times. I mean,
Yeah.
with the way that Glasgow performed against Leinster, if Leinster had beaten the Bulls last year and it ended up being a Leinster Glasgow final, they probably would have a URC title just because Glasgow don't know how to play against Leinster. And I'm not being horrible, but
No, I get what
what
you
is
mean.
it like 114 to 20 points that it's been this year over the three fixtures? But besides
Haven't
that,
beat, haven't we found out that no Scottish side actually has ever won in the Aviva Stadium, which is horrible. So if Leinster were to lose to Edinburgh or Glasgow, it would have been done at the RDS, which is where they just don't play. It's just not a thing anymore for them.
I think it's being refurbed this year, so
Yes.
next year they'll be back. And I think one of the things that has felt not great for Leinster fans this year is the fact that they're always at the Aviva, whereas in a similar way to like with Harlequins, that we play at Twickenham twice a year now with the big game and the big summer kickoff, which has only been in the works for like 3 years. We've only done like three of them,
Mm.
three or four. No, we have done four. We've done it for 3 years, but I think we've done four, if that makes sense. But in a similar way, Leinster have the opportunity to go to the Aviva in a similar way that Edinburgh have the opportunity to go to Murrayfield for the 1872. When you have that game once or twice in a year, it's
Nice.
amazing. So
Yeah.
potentially Quins would play at Twickenham in an ideal world. We'd play at Twickenham 3 times a year every year because we would be,
Final. Yeah.
yeah, good final, big game, big summer kickoff. I don't really blame some of the Leinster fans for getting a bit sick of like, oh, I've got to pay for the Aviva again, and we're gonna not perform again. Nah, I like stop. We want to. I don't blame some fans for getting a bit frustrated. The fact of like, this is just it's becoming a chore. It's not. Oh, we're at the Aviva. This is amazing. Let's go to Old Lansdowne Road and go to the Aviva. Like the novelty's worn off.
Yeah.
And let's put it this way: the Leinster have had a bit of a dip. If we go back into actually reviewing the match,
Hmm.
Leinster have had that dip. They've not been at their best for the past couple of weeks, but they're still getting it done. And the thing that I think that for Leinster that is always the difficult thing for them to swallow as a team is the fact that most of the time they are the best team. Like week in, week out, they are just the best. They play the phenomenal rugby. They've got the depth and the superstars, and they have all of this set up. They are an operation that is set up to win, and they do until it matters. Almost peaking too early and having to
Yeah.
fight back and really go right. We need to do this. We're about to go on a Lions tour. Yes, a lot of those boys have won the Six Nations in the last couple of years. Yes, they're missing some key guys in Caelan Doris and everyone else. But for them, they've had their dip in form. They've had their right. Go time, boys. Let's pull up our big
Mhm.
boy pants and let's go get these guys who have ruined our party in the years gone by. Let's get this off our back. Let's get this title, and then let's go down under and get that title. Like that's got to be the conversation that they're having. Like, look, let's band together. Geordie's only been here a year. He's about to go back to New Zealand. He ain't winning a title with Hurricanes because everyone else is a bit too good at the minute. Let's band together. Let's win it for him. Let's win it for us. And let's get on a winning track before going to the Lions.
Something's got to give, and it really
But
has because
well, for what
Bulls,
for both teams,
both for both
really.
teams. Some days streak is going to end, and Sunday is going to finally lift that chip off their shoulder. It's just, I really don't know. A lot of people on my comments personally have said Leinster by 25, and I'm like, really? Really?
Well, considering the last final Leinster played at the Aviva, I think they lost.
Yep.
They did to La Rochelle in
But it's not at the Aviva.
2023,
It's not at the Aviva. It's at
Croke
Croke
Park.
Park. It is at
Ah,
the
that's why it's at Croke Park, because the last time they were at the Aviva in a final, they lost.
that, and I don't think many people realise just how important Croke Park is. Not for rugby, not even for just for Irish sport. It is it is a sanctuary. It
For
is the
I for
pinnacle
Ireland
for
itself.
Ireland. It's so important. It is
I mean,
such
we
an
all
important stadium.
we probably aren't old enough to remember this, but we know the story of
Yeah, yeah.
the English national anthem being sung at Croke Park on the particular day that it was going to be sung, and they didn't know what was going to happen, and they thought, is there going to be a problem here? Is there going to be something going to happen? They had no idea. And yeah, that day is now steeped in history in a similar way to what happened with England and Wales in 2013. Like, if they can get it right, if Leinster can get it right, they get the physicality, they can get their kicks at goal, they can do all of that stuff.
See, that's the big one. The kicks a goal. They smashed Glasgow. Yes, the scoreline flattered Glasgow. Leinster missed 11 points off the kicks. And I'm not
Yeah,
being rude. I understand Sam Prendergast is going to be a talent. He is going to be the future.
he's
If your kicking is that shaky at such a crunch time of the season,
it's
Jordy
not good.
Barrett is Jordy Barrett is right there. I'm just saying.
I'm I'm amazed that Geordie Barrett hasn't kicked more. I will say. Let's. Geordie Barrett's not infallible. Arguably, he missed the kick to win the World Cup in 2023 because
Yeah, yeah.
obviously there was that whole controversy where the try was disallowed. Ultimately, Geordie Barrett missed a kick at goal. That's what cost you a World Cup. It wasn't a refereeing decision, New Zealand, but he's not infallible. But I am amazed that they haven't utilised his boot more. I'm amazed,
Yeah.
and I can't help but feel that Ireland are trying to fast track, not Leinster, Ireland. Ireland are trying to fast track Sam Prendergast to give him as much experience as possible to get him ready for the World Cup in 2027 in 2 years' time. And it really feels like they're trying to give him as much as possible because he'll be maybe 23, 24 in 2027. And they're trying, and I just feel like they're trying to force him to be ready right now when everyone and their mum can see that I'm not to chew the lad out. He's just not ready. He doesn't make
Which is
tackles. He
which is
doesn't
okay.
kick at goal. It is fine. It is fine that he's not ready. It is okay that he's not ready. Johnny Sexton wasn't properly ready for a long time, even though everyone thought he was. He wasn't. He needed to wait for a long time before he got his proper shot. But it just feels like you've got players like Ross Byrne at the club. You've got Kieran Frawley. Why are they not playing 10?
The
Why
Kieran
are
Fuller
they
one
not?
baffles me considering, and again, I'm not bashing Prendergast. I get what they're doing. I get why they're doing it. Kieran Frawley got a drop goal against South Africa in South Africa last
And
summer.
and beat
Doesn't,
South Africa in South Africa.
yeah, and nobody, and he doesn't play.
No,
How?
it's ridiculous. I mean, he's a victim of being too good a utility player.
Yeah,
But
he's too good to start, which is a weird one.
that's the problem with loads of these guys that they can put. I mean, 10, 12, 15. I mean, Damien Willemser is kind of similar, but he just gets on the pitch a lot more, but he's always playing somewhere. But
Yeah.
you just, yeah,
Oh, you know
it's good.
what?
I can't call this final. It's so much more difficult to say because I think that at scrum time, I could see again. I mentioned Vilko Low. I could see Vilko Low getting a few penalties on
The thing
Porter,
the
not
Bulls,
Sheehan.
the thing the Bulls need to watch out for is how quick Leinster start a game.
And also on top of that, it's their discipline because their discipline was
Oh,
woeful
God.
against the
The
Sharks.
Bulls, the Bulls' discipline is absolutely shocking for
They,
for a side of their caliber. And
yeah,
you've already got the mind games. Jake White's came out and they've got more Ireland caps than we do, like URC appearances. I'm like, yeah, funny, but there's a reason for that.
I
It's
mean, he's not wrong. A lot of those South African players that do play for the Bulls are like, I mean, you've got Willie LaRue and who's probably the most there, but like some of those Springboks who play for the Bulls, they should have more. Like I
it's
think
yeah, it's not as Springbok loaded as say,
the Sharks.
yeah.
It's not like all of them, all the Stormers who I think have got more Springboks, but all Springboks of a higher cap threshold. But yeah, you look at it and it's, I mean, the thing that will I don't want it to come down to this, but I do believe that one of the things that could happen is the Bulls, someone will do something stupid, they will shoot a bit too high, and the referee will have no choice but to award a red card. And that could just really, really, really turn the table. Because we saw what Edinburgh did when Bulls didn't have great discipline. The Sharks were just that poor last week. They just couldn't capitalize on the bad discipline. Like, some of the players there looked like they need to retire. I won't name the name because it's mean to, but like there's a couple of Sharks players that are being flogged by both club and country in a way that other nations might not potentially flog those players. They protect them a bit more. But my God, the Sharks. I just going back to that semi final. If the Bulls, if the Sharks had just been a little bit better last week, I've, we would see a different final based on the capitalization of the penalties that they gave away. So I think that the two areas that I think are so key in this final is the scrum dominance of the Bulls. You've just got it. Like Clarkson is going to have a field day dealing with, who is it? Grobler,
Yeah.
Grobler, and then Steenekamp when he comes off the bench as well, and then Porter has got to deal with
Porter
Blimmin
versus the Wall is going to be.
Lowe. It's considering how good Lowe has been this year, and again, Sheehan, no, not Sheehan. I keep nearly saying Sheehan.
Porter.
Considering how strong Porter is and how he is a good loose head and he's brilliant, sometimes he can get done at the scrum. And if you've got someone, you've got a tight head who's just done in Oxenche, who with Porter is probably one of the best loose heads in the world, and he has done in every other loose head. That scrum battle is so key. Leinster are not going to want to have to scrum to win the game because they know how threatening it's going to be. But on the flip side, Bulls are going to have to be so careful that they keep as squeaky clean as they possibly can, because Leinster, against teams that have yellow cards or loads of penalties, they are clinical, and it's just
Yeah.
such a fascinating battle. I mean, the defensive structure of Jacques Nienaber. I mean, two Springbok coaches who have won World Cups on either side of the camps.
Yeah. Yeah, but Jake White's like that old dog.
Yeah, living there.
And I don't want this final to come down to, oh, but the referee's done this. Shut, like, I've already spoke to you privately, and I'm not going to go into detail about it because we have had referees on this show. I plan on getting more referees on the show. I'm not a big fan of Andrea Priardi. As
I,
of
as of this year, you have to question, especially with
you have to look at how he's getting big games because like
he has
it's not
handled a big game very badly this year,
it's not even
and
the
that
fact he's had one blunder. It's he's had a fair few. He's now got a
yeah,
URC final and he has a Lions test. I think a lot of people are not taking into consideration this that he is refereeing the second test of the Lions Wallabies game, which again, yeah, it just doesn't scream ideal to me. But
it it's not necessarily to say that he's a terrible referee and he should not be refereeing at this level. I don't want to go out and say that. I think for me, it's one of those times where it's like when a player is having a bad year, you don't want to add more pressure to them. He's already had a couple of shaky games. Let's let's
let
not
him
give
rest.
him that extra pressure. Like let's take it off him a bit.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I
I'm gonna
but
I'm gonna
but
I'm
on
gonna.
but on the positive side for him, he has
Mhm.
refereed a URC final before. He was the referee for Munster Stormers a couple of years ago when Munster won it. So he can do it at the highest level. He can. And hopefully he will be able to. But it's the thing that I agree with you that I don't want to bash the referee, but I also don't want this game to come down. Well, ultimately games do come down to referees' decisions for like penalties and whatnot. but it's what you do when you are given that
Yeah,
penalty
but
is ultimately how you win
I
the
don't
game. But
I just
we
don't
don't
want to
want
see
a
it.
silly red card.
Yeah,
We don't want a blunder of a decision. The TMO has actually got to support the referees because that's the thing that I'm finding really annoying. That they're snitching when they shouldn't be snitching. They're
yeah.
saying, "Oh, go back to that thing there." No, that you don't need to. No, clear and obvious, guys. Come on. The TMO need to be utilised properly. They need to support PRD properly
Yeah.
because that is ultimately what needs to happen. And the last time we saw the finals, arguably TMOs didn't support their referees properly. So hopefully that is the case.
Hopefully,
And
sorted.
we can have a game that is decided by which of these absolute titans is the best team. Actually, just on a level, the caliber of like club teams that are in the final of these two competitions, Leinster, probably the biggest team in Ireland. Sorry, Munster fans. Bulls, probably the biggest team in South Africa in terms of titles and how decorated they are. Sorry, Sharks fans. I know it's the closest rivalry. Bath and Leicester are definitely, almost certainly, historically, the two biggest teams in England.
Domestically. Domestically,
And that
yeah.
domestically, yeah. And then even if you go into Super Rugby, you've got the Crusaders who are now in the final. The caliber and the prestige of some of the teams that are in the finals of these competitions in the next 2 weeks is
Oh yeah,
massive.
the big now this year feels the big dogs are actually like, no, we are showing you why we're the big dogs. Okay, show us that.
Oh, absolutely,
I'm
absolutely.
gonna
It's
put you
not
on.
like a team that finishes in fourth.
Yeah, no, no. That is one thing I don't like about Super Rugby, but that's a different argument for a different pod. Um,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put you on the spot because there's one more thing I want to talk about before we round off this episode. Who's winning the URC? Leinster or Bulls? I'm just gonna put you on the spot right now.
Leinster,
Leinster.
Leinster. I think that with the travel that the Bulls have got to do as well, I think the
Mm,
fact that they're at Croke Park, the history of Croke Park,
yeah,
the absolute target on their back that they've got, wanting to go into the Lions series with confidence, I think that Leinster will do it. I think it'll be
it's
close.
got
It will
it's
be
got
within. It
to the
will be within
point.
a score,
Yep.
but it's got to. They've got to get the monkey off their back. I think. I think that they'll do it. I do. I don't know if I like the fact that they'll do it.
You're gonna. There's so many people that just don't like this final because of the teams. I'm like, you're gonna have to
No,
pick a winner.
I would have preferred a Sharks Glasgow. I'll be totally honest. I would have preferred a Sharks Glasgow.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but neither of them deserved it really. Like, when you look
No,
back,
no, they were woeful. They were absolutely awful in the fight in their semi final.
so I think Leinster will get finally because it's not even an itch anymore. They are
It's a full blown scratching fit.
they are yeah they are so constantly like scratching for something. Not even just for. I know they want that European title. I know they want their 5 star. Take what you're given.
Win a title and then go and win
Win
a
a,
fifth star.
win a title. Get your confidence back. Get this mentality thing sorted, and then yeah, go on and get your 5th star.
Yeah, absolutely.
But but we'll see what happens. It's going to be tight. Speaking of tight heads, Lions.
Oh,
Thank you,
lovely segue,
thank
sir.
you. Um, what a headache has been Xander Fagerson out of the tour, which it's awful. I wish Xander a speedy recovery, not just as a Scottish fan, just as a rugby fan. You don't wish injuries.
No, not at all.
Finlay Balaam has came in to replace Xander Fagerson. Again, no complaints. He did really well in the Six Nations when Furlong was out. He knows the system. He knows the coaching staff. He seems
Yeah,
like a good lad as well. He genuinely seems very humble, which is awesome.
a good tourist. Let's put it that
Yeah,
way. A good tour. I mean, arguably, Finlay Bealham should have been in the squad over Tyke Furlong, who they are.
well,
This is
there's
the
that as
thing that
well.
is really frustrating me
Yeah,
is the fact that there's all this noise about the tight head situation simply because, arguably, as of this year, Will Stewart has been the best tight head. Whether he's started for Bath or come off the bench when he was playing
Fitness
for
wise, yeah.
England,
Just on
he's been
fitness alone.
yeah, fitness and form. He's been the best tight head in England, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. And I'll go out there and say it. And
I
I'm not
think a
biased.
lot of the
This is what I'm
SPA.
watching. But the problem is, Xander's had an injury, but was ultimately we thought he was going to be fine. Tyg Furlong, despite having the history that he has not been fit properly for the
For a while.
entire year. And
I
yes, they are
think
saying that he will be fit for the Lions, but I don't think you
that's
can be
you're
going
hoping, yeah.
into a game
No.
saying, oh, but he will. That's like saying Owen Farrell should go because, oh, he's going to be fit for the Lions. But it's just like,
Well,
well, no, it's
well, technically, Owen Farrell is going on the Lions tour
as
as
a pundit.
a pundit.
Come on, his fourth Lions tour, but he's a pundit. And then probably his fifth will be as a coach, realistically.
That doesn't bother me.
No,
That does not bother.
I think Owen Farrell will be a phenomenal coach. I think it'll be
If it,
horrible to
if
play
it
under him,
isn't,
but he'll be he's already a coach essentially with the way that he plays. Imagine
if he's
Ford and
anything like if he's
yeah,
anything like his dad,
oh
yeah, fair.
yeah. I mean, Ford and Farrell coaches for England one day probably. Everyone will be pooing themselves seeing those two leaving England. Like,
Um,
great.
yeah, so Owen Farrell is going, but he is going as a pundit. Um, Tyg Furlong. I love Tyg Furlong. He is a generational prop, but
Oh, phenomenal. He's
your
not been
injury,
fit.
your injuries are creeping up, and like we have lost good players on previous tours due to injury,
Mm,
and it's my only issue. Like on paper, I had no complaints for that Lions squad.
no.
A lot of them have not played. Tyg Furlong, Xander Ferguson. We now know Xander's not good enough.
Mac
Not fit
Hansen,
enough.
Hugh Jones.
Drew Jones, Sione Tuipuotu. Yeah, he's back now. But when he got announced, I'm like, okay, yeah, okay.
Although to be
Duhan,
fair, when Duan, yeah, to be fair with Hugh, he was sort of announced and he was a bit like he had like a niggle. Like he's got an Achilles issue, which like as somebody who has had issues with his Achilles, the inflammation, if it like flares up bad, it can last a few weeks. But as long as you do like all your necessary rehab and everything, should be fine for the
yeah.
Lions. He should be fine. It's not like a proper muscle grade tear or
No, no, it's not. It's just
there are a couple of players that we look at. There's been, I mean, if you think that Van der Fleer was injured in the past few weeks and there was a scare, Ringrose, Keenan, I think
Keenan's not
James
played.
Ryan,
Keenan's still not played.
Keenan,
Just
is
that.
he not?
He's not in the final.
Blair's not been fit.
Uh, we all
It's
say it. There's always going to be injuries on a Lions tour, which we know. Well, it's fact of it's just how a
there's an
Lions tour
average
works.
of 7 players who change.
Yeah. Well, you've already got one. There's guaranteed change. One is there's a young lad training, but it's not, and that's all it seems to be right now. Is he is training, and it's Asher Apoka for sure. He is not
And that
officially in
is
the squad.
no, and that is probably the reason why he was picked, is because out of all the players that are available, he is probably on their shortlist in the sense of none of the Scottish tight heads really would go into the camp as somebody to train for the Lions with. And if you think that guys like potentially Joe Hayes or Dan Cole couldn't be selected as an additional tight head because they were busy, and if you think that between Asher Poku and Will Griff John, who were probably two of the outstanding candidates to potentially replace because of the camps that they've been in, how well that they've played, they've gone for a Pocky for sure, and they can't select Clarkson because Clarkson is with Leinster. So ultimately, as amazing as it is
Well,
for that young 20-year-old lad to get picked to train with the Lions, it was kind of as a necessity of the players that were available. But I think
what this
there is a
tells me,
chance, if there is a chance that Tyke Furlong is not fully fit, or he will be fit, or there's a chance it might not be great. I don't see the harm in taking Asher as a fourth option for both tight and loose head. Just
well,
have a
yeah, I mean,
seventh prop,
Ronan
which would be
Kelleher
brilliant.
was. This is weird because like Ronan Kelleher did it 4 years ago, and
Yeah, he
it
trained
doesn't
with the squads
it
in
doesn't count.
Jersey and
Yeah,
went, but he went on the tour.
it
I
doesn't
just
count
don't
though.
think he. I just don't think he played, but he just went, which is
Yeah,
I think for Jamie George and Ashraf Pocket for sure, they might take them along as well, just because they have trained and they're experienced. And even if they don't play, it's an experienced lad who will be able to help out with Maro in the leadership group because he's been on 2 previous tours. And then
yeah.
it's a young lad who will have the time of his life in Australia, training and helping all the other players, filling in where he can. I think there's every possibility that
The
they
reason
could go.
it's got me thinking, especially for next week's first game against Argentina. It's my final thought because we'll dive into it next week before you go to Dublin, which I am jealous of. I won't lie.
Yeah,
The fact that Finlay Bale is officially in the squad, he's had the headshots, blah blah blah, and
he's in the
Asher
kit.
Hope, they've all got kit, but
Yeah.
like he's been pictured, his headshots there. If you go on the website, it says squad. Finlay Bell's name is there. Asher Pokafajir's name is not, which tells me Will Stewart is going to be on the bench next week in Dublin because he doesn't. Yes, he'll probably start the Prem final, but you've still got Thomas Tutoit there. So the weight, the pressure's not all there for Will Stewart.
Will Stewart hasn't had the same workload as potentially as Xander Ferguson would
Dan
have
Ferguson,
had
who's had to like do a full 80 more
constantly.
times. Yeah,
And
more times
then,
than not.
or is it the fact that they're saying that Tyke Furlong will be fit for the Lions, and because they've got Clarkson and Slimani, they've decided, right, Tyke, we want you to go on this Lions tour. We're not going to play you this weekend because we want you to be fit for the
Maybe.
Lions game in Dublin, and he might play. And then we watch him play and go, oh, why were we ever worried? He looks fine.
Yeah, maybe. There's going to be a lot of questions in the build up to next week.
Oh yeah,
I can't wait, but we're going to leave.
I am so excited. It will
I,
be my first time experiencing Dublin as well.
yeah, I've still to scratch it. I've never done it. Not yet, but never say never. Anything can happen. I have entered competitions. They run out on the 15th, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We're going to leave it there because we've spoke about the finals. We've spoke about the injury cover. It's fun to speculate, but there's no point, I don't think, in doing a team because they're pretty much going to be the same. I haven't picked any of the 16 that are playing in the finals. I don't know if you have.
No, I've
I
everyone that
might pick.
the
I might
20
pick one because of what I've just said about Will Shirtle or type. Nah, maybe. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I would say out of there's currently 24 players in that Lions training camp, and
Yeah,
I've got everyone playing apart from Matt Canson just because I don't know how fit he is. So that would be my everyone that I've got currently in the Lions camp will be playing in Dublin next week, apart
yeah,
from Matt Canson. So you would have that 24. And then if an emergency you needed one of the boys from either Bath or Leinster or Leicester to play in that game in Dublin, you have that option there because they'll
yeah.
be with the squad. But
They'll be there.
I have the 23 of the 24 who are there now playing.
I have 22
Well,
because
I have one person definitely playing, Maro Itoje, as he's captain.
right,
There you go. We've got
yeah,
one. We've given you one.
there's one.
But what
But
10? I don't know. It could be well, okay. And I will also give you another thing. The fly half's name will end with Smith. But what Smith? I don't know. There's two of them.
just for next week, yeah. For the rest of it,
Who knows?
who knows?
We don't know. I mean,
But
we know who it should be, but we don't know.
we'll leave it at that. We'll talk about we'll be back next week talking all things Lions. We'll probably do it earlier. It'll
Yeah.
probably be more like a squad reaction sort of thing, I feel, because you're away to Dublin and then the game's
Yeah.
on the Friday
It
night. So,
depends when the squad comes out and depends what time I've got between all the Guinness I'm going to be drinking.
well, that's true. But if not, we'll be back the following week because we've had the Lions game. Harry can talk about his time in Dublin. We'll be looking at the first game over in Australia against the Western Force. So yeah, even if we miss
Probably
next week,
probably the best game for them to start with. The shortest distance to fly to,
yeah,
easiest time difference to get used to, and then you just have another like 5 hour flight after that.
yeah, there's that. But in the meantime, hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, follow the page on Instagram, TikTok. If you like what I do, follow me on TikTok. I'm at +4rugby. If you like Harry, give him a follow. He's a big theatre boy. He lets his intrusive thoughts run wild on TikTok. But if that's what your thing is, then go for it.
Exactly. And leave comments. We want to hear you guys' reactions. We'll
Yeah,
engage. We want to see your takes, whether they're wild or accurate or somewhere in
you
the middle.
don't have
We
to
love,
agree, but yeah,
no, we love to have debates with people. So get in the comments, help the algorithm, help drive this podcast.
yeah. And until the next time, whether that's next week or the week after, enjoy the finals, enjoy the Lions, enjoy rugby, and we'll see you next time.